This program is provided by Universal Genesis.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. For you listening today, if you love connecting the dots and having those big, aha moments without getting bogged down in heavy academic jargon, you are in the exact right place. Let's just jump right in.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack this fascinating set of historical notes we have. It's titled, Why Was French Spoken in the Prussian Royal Court? And we're going to look at how one single speech sparked a linguistic revolution that completely destroyed a continent's social order.
It really did, and it essentially invented the modern concept of the nation-state along the way.
Right. So picture this. It is ATL 8, you're in Berlin, and the city is occupied by Napoleon's troops.
A very tense situation.
Oh, incredibly volatile. French soldiers are patrolling the streets, and stepping up to the podium in the middle of this powder keg is a philosopher named Johann Gottlieb Fichte.
Right, feet.
Yeah, and he delivers this daring, defiant speech called Addresses to the German Nation. He declares, he says, the German language is the soul of the nation. Germans become one nation through the German language.
Which is such a powerful statement.
Right. It becomes the ultimate symbol of German nationalism.
Yeah.
But here is the mind-bending twist from the source material. At that exact moment, the actual Prussian royal court didn't even use German as their common language.
You know, they did.
They spoke French.
Yeah, it's wild, right? It completely shatters our modern assumption that the leaders of a German state would, naturally speak German.
Exactly.
To understand why Fichte's speech was so radical, we first have to explore the somewhat bizarre linguistic world of 18th century Europe.
Okay, let's unpack this.
So it was a world where the elites had much more in common with each other across these massive borders than they did with their own subjects.
Like Frederick the Great, right? The Prussian king.
Exactly. Frederick the Great. He wrote all his letters, his poetry, his philosophy entirely in French.
And he even corresponded with Voltaire in French. He invited him to the Berlin court.
He did, because French was the elite language everywhere, not just Prussia. Austria, Russia, the Italian states, Spain, it was the language of all diplomacy.
Which is just, why? Why French?
Well, it comes down to Louis XIV. France was the cultural superpower of the time. Versailles set the standard for manners, socializing, literature, fashion. So speaking French equaled being a cultured person.
So it wasn't just practical, it was a flex.
Oh, absolutely a flex.
Yeah.
Which brings us to early modern Europe's four-tiered language structure.
Okay, 4 tiers. Walk me through this.
Right, so society wasn't divided by borders, but by class and function. Tier 1 at the bottom, commoners spoke local dialects.
Just strictly local.
Yeah. Then Tier 2, in the cities, you had regional languages used for trade.
Okay, makes sense. And then Tier 3.
Tier 3 is the courts. They spoke French.
The VIP lounge.
Exactly. And finally, Tier 4, academia. They used Latin.
Now wait, let me jump in here. Because the sources point out an important nuance about Latin. We always hear Latin's a dead language, right?
Right.
But it wasn't entirely dead. It just wasn't a living language for everyday communication.
That's a vital distinction. Latin was for academic papers and theology, so it left a vacuum for a spoken international language, which French just eagerly filled.
It's so interesting. It's like a corporate skyscraper.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, like the executives on the top floor all speak one language, middle management on the middle floor speaks another, and the workers down on the ground floor speak a dozen different dialects.
That is a perfect analogy.
But I have to ask a pushback question here. Did the royalty actually prefer this? Was speaking French a deliberate tool to just avoid having to associate with the commoners?
Oh, absolutely. It functioned as a barrier. They viewed themselves almost as a separate breed from the commoners. So their shared French language reinforced that international brotherhood. They didn't see it as a problem that they couldn't talk to a peasant. They saw it as proof of their superiority.
So the elites are up in the penthouse speaking French. But what about the German commoners on the ground floor? Because if Fichte is pointing to the German language, the plot thickens here.
It really does.
According to the source material, a unified German language was basically a myth at this point.
Yeah, that's a crucial correction to make. It's not that German didn't exist at all, but rather that a standardized German language did not yet exist.
Right, because if you compare it to France or England.
Exactly. England standardized English in the 15th and 16th centuries. London was centralized. Print culture was booming. France centralized early too. All their administration and courts were in French.
But the Holy Roman Empire was entirely different. It was violently fractured.
Oh, completely. Over 300 microstates.
Kingdoms, duchies, free cities.
Right. And all that fragmentation meant extreme linguistic fragmentation. Dialects like Bavarian, Saxon, Swiss, Austrian, they differed so wildly.
So Bavarian trying to talk to a Saxon.
It would be incredibly difficult. The grammar and vocabulary were just so localized.
See, here's where it gets really interesting. And I have to push back on Fichte's whole speech.
Go for it.
Wait, so Fichte is standing in Berlin in 1808. He's saying, the German language is the soul of the nation. But what language is he even talking about?
Exactly.
If a Bavarian can't understand a Saxon, Fichte is pointing to a ghost. He's trying to build a house, starting with the roof.
He really is pointing to a ghost. It's the ultimate cart before the horse scenario. Which brings us to the next big question. How did that ghost become real?
You can't just speak a standardized language into existence?
No, you can't. It required a very specific generational sequence of cultural heavyweights to engineer it from scratch.
So who started it? Religion, right?
Yep. It started centuries earlier with Martin Luther.
When he translated the Bible?
Exactly. But Luther had a problem. He wanted his Bible to be read widely, but if he used his local dialect, no one outside his town would understand it.
So what was his workaround?
He used the Saxon written language as a base. It was this dry administrative language used by diplomats. He blended that with spoken dialects.
And he had the printing press?
The printing press was everything. It physically forced standardization. Printers had to agree on spellings to sell the same Bible across different regions. It became the foundation of standard German.
Okay, so Luther pours the concrete foundation. But a Bible isn't enough to compete with French culture, is it?
No, not at all. You need literature. You need art. And that's where Johann Wolfgang von Goethe and Friedrich Schiller come in, late 18th century.
Right, these guys explode onto the scene.
They really did. They took German, which, remember, the courts still dismissed as this rough, uncultured language, and they elevated it into a top-tier European cultural language.
So Luther pours the foundation, Goethe and Schiller build this elegant architectural structure.
That's a great way to put it. And then comes the final fascinating piece of the puzzle, the Grimm brothers.
Jakob and Wilhelm Grimm. Now, most people just know them for fairy tales.
Cinderella, Hansel, and Gretel, yeah.
Right. But they weren't just writing cute children's stories, were they?
Not at all. Around the same time, they were traveling across German lands collecting old folk tales from villages.
Why?
Because they believed these stories preserved the memory and the ancient spirit of the German people. They were essentially mapping linguistic DNA.
Okay, so I love this analogy we're building. Luther pours the concrete foundation. Goethe and Schiller build the architectural structure. And the Grimm brothers went door to door collecting ancient family heirlooms to furnish the place.
I love that. They gave it a history.
But wait, at this point, this is still just a beautiful cultural project, right? When does this actually turn into the political weapon that Fichte was wielding in Berlin?
Well, that cultural project became a political weapon exactly when Fichte stepped up to the podium.
Because of the context.
Yes. The catalyst was that the French were no longer just the fashionable elites at Versailles. They were the invading army.
Napoleon's troops were literally occupying Berlin.
Exactly. So suddenly, speaking French wasn't a sign of high culture. It was sleeping with the enemy. It was treasonous.
The penthouse became a liability.
Completely. And in the 19th century, that old four-tiered linguistic system we talked about, it completely collapsed.
So Latin fades from academia.
Yep. And French permanently loses its status as the universal court language.
Wow.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Fichte's speech introduced a revolutionary political formula.
What's the formula?
It's 3 steps. Step 1, language unites a people.
Okay.
Step 2, that shared language creates a nation.
Right.
Step 3, the nation claims the right to its own independent state.
So Fichte's speech destroyed the old European linguistic order.
Completely dismantled it.
So what does this all mean for us? This is the ultimate aha moment for you listening, because we usually think countries invent languages.
Right, like we are Germany, so we naturally speak German.
Exactly. But these sources tell us the exact opposite. The language had to be engineered first, so the country could exist.
It is a profound inversion of how we look at borders. Fichte took a cultural project and turned it into a political boundary.
The language built the nation, not the other way around.
Precisely.
That is just incredible. And it brings us right back to you, the listener. Think about the languages, the dialects, or even the professional jargon you use today.
Yeah, the words you choose.
Exactly. How much does the way you speak define the tribe you belong to? Fichte's legacy proves that words don't just describe our reality, They actually draw the borders of our world.
And that leaves us with one last, slightly unsettling thing to mull over, building on all this source material.
Ooh, what's that?
Well, if 18th century European elites used French to separate themselves from the masses,
Right.
and then 19th century nationalists used local languages to build independent nations, what is the internet doing to us today?
Oh, wow. That is a great question.
Are we retreating back to a modern four-tiered system? Like, do global elites now speak a common digital or cultural language, while local communities retreat back into their own isolated dialects?
Like hyper-specific internet jargon. Building new penthouses.
Exactly. Are we just repeating the cycle?
That is definitely something to think about until the next deep dive. Thanks for listening.
This program is provided by Universal Genesis.